Welcome to Tech Talk 2020 with Sanjay Parker, the show where we get smarter together. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with my co-host, Mike Carswell, and today we're going to talk about a recent trip we had to Munich, Germany, or München, if you were German, to spend time at the BMW manufacturing plant.
Well, good evening, everyone. This is Mike Carswell joining Sanjay Parker here on Tech Talk 2020. So when you're over there, brother, did you get some kraut? Did you get some bratwurst? And did you have some bright brown Bavarian beer?
Yes, and no. So I did have some cold Hefeweizen. I did have some sauerkraut, which was incredibly good. And Germans don't drink cold or warm beer, contrary to popular myth. I think that's London, where they do the warm beer. Germans like their beer cold, and boy, it was nice and cold. Although they have two different lines. One line, if you take the standard beer size, which is a liter, which is enough to put you to sleep if you don't drink much. And then if you want half a liter, you have to go around the back to a shameful line where apparently you're not, cool enough to drink the whole liter. So needless to say, I got the liter. And
I'm familiar with the liter. I think a liter is in America too. I mean, it's on the milk cartons. Remember, we buy 2 liters of pop?
Yeah, it's a significant amount of beer. So they also have something that I never knew about called currywurst. And you should Google this. It's pretty amazing. Have you ever had currywurst?
I've had a few wursts, but I don't think I've had a currywurst, and I'm gonna safely assume that it's some type of sausage with a little curry in it.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff. So the rumor is from the locals that were not really born there, people who've been living there for a little while.
Sure.
At the end of World War II, there was a lot of ketchup and a lot of curry and turmeric. And so they made this concoction called currywurst, or spicy barbecue sauce type ketchup with turmeric and curry spices on top.
Right.
And they put it on top of the bratwurst, and they serve it with Pommes frites, which is German for French fries.
Well, I've heard of pumice stone, but not pumice fruits. But I will tell you this, this is just, I don't care if the audience knows this or not, maybe you just need to know, I'm an anti-condiment guy, so I don't like ketchup. I do like curry, but I don't like ketchup. I don't like mustard. I don't like mayo. If a dog ain't good plain, it's not a good dog.
I heard that condiments don't really like you either.
That's all right. That's fine. Hey, people don't want to hear about our eating habits. They want to talk about technology. So, hey, guess what? As we proceed today and we talk about different things, all technical stuff, whatever the subject matter is, which I know it's about BMWs, let us know. Tweet at us at Tech Talk 2020 on Twitter, or hit us up on Facebook, our beautiful page. It's gorgeous. It's Tech Talk 2020 is also found on Facebook. So, Sanjay, let's drive.
Awesome. Good intro. So I had the pleasure last week of spending some time with a Crowd Companies Council, and this is a group of large businesses and enterprises that get together and meet on their own turf. So BMW is one of our members, and they hosted us for this meeting. And
no trade secrets exchanged, though.
Nope,
right?
none.
You have to watch that.
In fact, when we had a tour of the plant, which is kind of interesting, the BMW plant in Munich is the only one within the city limits. It was there for 100 years, more than 100 years now, 104 years, I believe. And it's kind of right in the middle of downtown Munich. And if you look right around the building, there's the BMW World, which is the museum and the headquarters. And right next to it is the old stuff from the 72 Olympics. Remember?
Oh, my. Oh, yeah. That was
in Munich. So they had the big buildings, the construction, the cool, futuristic-looking buildings, pretty neat stuff.
Their building kind of resembles the Renaissance Center in Detroit. Have you seen that building before?
No, I haven't.
There's some similarities here as I look at it, too. And, I think you're going to talk about it a little bit, but I do know a little bit about BMW.
You do?
Doesn't BMW, the acronym, stand for Bavarian Motor Works?
Absolutely.
What do I win?
You get a new BMW made by Matchbox.
Oh, yes. Sweet. I got one of those already.
Yeah, you get a can of Red Bull, says our board out.
Oh, yeah. Red Bull, yeah. BMW, Bavarian Motor Works. Now, Bavarian, you're going to have to, we'll talk about that some other time. So what'd you see, man?
So, first of all, when I got into Munich, let's just talk about the city. Beautiful city, amazingly clean, as with most of Germany, all of Germany that I've seen, but very well engineered. So you pull in, you see every German luxury vehicle all over the place. Tons of Audis, tons of BMWs, tons of Mercedes, and in fact, all of the taxi cabs from the airport, and we're talking scores of them,
Yes.
are kind of like an off, like a taupe color. No, maybe it's more of a yellow, tan, cream.
Okay.
They're all Mercedes.
Okay.
All the taxi cabs are Mercedes. They're all, eco-efficient, and the drivers are pretty neat and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the road, you know how they have the white lines as you go on the highway?
Sure.
The little dotted lines?
Sure.
If you transverse one of those lines, they have built-in rumble strips.
Uh-huh.
So it warns you that you're traversing a line. So you don't need, lane detection and all of that stuff. Every car, when it goes over those rumble strips, you'll know that you're going into another lane. If it wasn't intentional, whoa, you better do something different.
Even as loud as the stereo that you play, you will be able to hear those rumble strips.
Oh, you feel it.
What you want to think that's the bass, though? I mean, I like feeling the bass in my sternum when I boom, 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 boom. I'm sorry.
You just wanted to do that. It sounded pretty good. You know how I am with the suspension and tuning of my vehicles. I like to feel the road. I would feel the road.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Awesome.
So the other thing, too, when you think about Europe and the smaller footprint they have for their area to live for everybody, they have to make very good use out of every piece of land. And so even our escalators, right? You go to a mall today, Mike, and you have an up escalator and you have a down escalator, right?
Yes, we do.
Well, in Germany, in Munich at least, there's only one escalator, and it goes up and down depending on the traffic. So if you walk up to that escalator and there's a green light, it means go ahead. You get on the escalator, which is not moving because it's conserving energy instead of running all day.
Right.
It will start moving up because it knows that you came from down. Now, if there's nobody on it, and you're coming from the top,
it'll start running free.
It'll go down. And so it goes either way, and it detects the traffic.
But the only problem with that I see in our wonderful American society is that we've talked about this for sure. How long do we want to wait for our internet connection? We don't want to wait very long at all. I mean, it seems like years if it's only seconds. So I'm thinking of an escalator. If I have to stand there and wait for an escalator because somebody else is coming up and I'm going to let them go down, I might just start biting my fingernails.
Right. So in Europe, what they do is right next to that escalator, they put something called stairs. And I know us Americans don't like those things, but if you don't want to wait, there's lots of people taking the stairs.
Dude, I'm a stair guy.
I'm
a stair guy.
You are.
Hell yeah.
No, not staring at people.
No. I could do the stairs.
Yeah.
I always do the stairs.
Yeah.
I opt for the stairs.
So I think that's pretty neat.
Sure.
And these escalators parts of them are outdoors. So rain and snow go in these escalators and they're still fine.
How are German winters? Do you know if they're similar to ours?
Very similar. Very similar from what I heard. Absolutely. Pretty severe in a lot of cases as well. So anyway, they have these beer gardens. You've heard about the beer gardens, and they have all of the picnic tables and all this cool stuff. So anyway, pretty neat, well organized, lots of cool little technology with the rapid system and how well it's done. It's also on the honor system. You go ahead and you punch and you go. Nobody monitoring anything.
Did you feel like you fit in there?
Yeah, except that I was the one looking around like, whoa, they have these mountains that are now parks that were actually the rubble from World War II. The whole city, many cities were decimated. So they pushed the rubble with bulldozers and everything and put them in a pile. What do you do with that? Well, they put dirt on top and grass seed, and now they're open green spaces for people to enjoy.
Gotcha. So, come on, man, you're scaring me here. You're talking tourist time. You're talking about cool luxury things. What about the technology taste?
So a couple quick things. So just a quick note about BMW. So they're in the middle of transforming their business, and there's a key concept here that we should all be aware of called urban mobility.
Okay.
What does that mean to you, Mike?
Urban mobility. Well, since I grew up in the inner city of Cleveland, my urban mobility was based on how fast my 10-speed would go. Honestly, I would think your ability to get around in the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. And what they're saying now, and the stats support it, it's all over the world today. People are moving back to urban areas. We had the suburban sprawl, from the 80s, 70s onwards.
No. You can go back to the 50s, really.
The 50s?
Sure,
okay. And they're building houses, everybody going out.
Yep.
Now it's back down to the cities, and people in cities don't need cars as much, right? Or they buy a car. Even today, you buy a car and you might use it 1 hour a day. It sits for 23 hours. A lot of people are saying, look, I don't want a car. I want to get one when I need it, or get an Uber driver, or I want to get my own vehicle and rent it when I need it. So BMW has realized that in the future, less cars will be sold, and they're okay with that. And they're supporting a more green environment. What they've said is we're going to support urban mobility. Here's a design of a city today. Look at all these parking structures and concrete parks and all of this stuff. Let's talk about urban mobility where people rent their cars by the minute as they need it. And I know that sounds crazy, but they've already rolled that out. And they said, look, we can have no parking garages and greenscapes. Not all these areas for people parking. People can enjoy it in the city, and they can have their dogs and their kids and their Frisbees. So BMW fully supports that urban mobility and says, look, we don't need to sell as many vehicles. We're going to make money off of all of these other things, like Drive Now, which means you can walk up to a BMW anywhere within the city, swipe your card or use your app, you get in, you drive it around, you pay a permanent cost, which covers everything from fuel to insurance to whatever you do. And then when you're done, just leave it wherever. It doesn't matter where within a few mile radius of the city, you just leave it there. The next person who needs a vehicle, they look on the app like, oh, there's one right out here. I can walk to it, and I'm going to take it. They're already doing that. They're doing fuel now for electric vehicle chargers. They're doing all of these mobility trends. Guess what? Within 2 years of doing this, it's already a for-profit division within their business.
You're getting too excited about this stuff.
It's amazing that an auto manufacturer has that kind of vision.
So if I want to rob a bank, I can just grab a gun and say, hey, Sanjay, let's swipe your card, take me to the bank, and we'll take this procedure, and we'll do our thing, right?
If you point a gun at me, I will do whatever you want. Yes, absolutely. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the actual BMW manufacturing plant, which is an amazing set of innovations on its own.
Okay. Well, we'll be back after the break here. Thank you for joining us here on Tech Talk 2020. Again, you got questions about Munich, or however you said Germany, hit us up on Tech Talk 2020, Tech Talk 2020 on Twitter, or on our Facebook page. That's Tech Talk 2020. We'll see you after the break.
Pat O'Brien Chevrolet thanks those who dedicate their lives to keeping us safe, defending freedom in the American way of life. Policemen, firemen, and the military, past and present, deserve our support and gratitude. At Pat O'Brien Chevrolet, we say God bless you and God bless America.
I felt guilty not always being able to take Mom everywhere. She can't drive anymore, but she still needs her independence. Then I heard about Lake Tran's Seniors on the Go program. Pat from Lake Tran visited us in Mom's home, and I went along on her first bus ride and saw the care Lake Tran drivers provide. Mom's got independence, and I've got peace of mind. If you need help with your parents, call Pat at 1-888-LAKE-TRAN to schedule a Seniors on the Go visit in their own home, or visit laketran.com.
Join WINT at the St. John Vianney Parish Festival in Menor. Dance to outstanding entertainment all 4 days. Eat homemade food and enjoy games for all ages, plus car raffle. Mark your calendars for St. John Vianney's Parish Festival in Menor, Thursday, July 7th through Sunday, July 10th.
Start your 4th of July celebrations early at Eldorado's Prescal Downs Casino. Join us for our Red, White, and Barbecue Brews Festival on Friday, July 1st at 5 p.m. Try out Erie's Best Barbecue by Brew Brothers, 3B Saloon, Dickey's Barbecue Pit, and Famous Dave's. Free admission with live entertainment including Kevin Dale at 6 p.m. and Chris Higby at 7. Visit PrescalDowns.com for details. Eldorado's Prescal Downs Casino, I-90, exit 27 in Erie, PA. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You never know what you'll find at a garage sale. That's why when a garage sale on steroids, like this weekend's Fairport Harbor White Elephant Sale happens, you can't miss it. Drop by 625 East Street in Fairport Harbor this Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Explore and rummage through a huge warehouse overflowing with furniture, fixtures, household items, electronics, and so much more. Call 440-942-2444 for details. It's the mother of all garage sales, the Great White Elephant Sale this Saturday and Sunday at 625 East Street in Fairport Harbor.
Welcome back to Tech Talk 2020 with Sanjay Parker. I'm here with my co-host Mike Carswell, and we are talking about Munich and the BMW manufacturing plant. And today's show is sponsored by CleavSpace Interactive, business technology, frictionless IT for smart businesses. So if you have any technology needs, website designs, media analysis, and digital marketing, call CleavSpace 440-360-7360. So Mike.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about the great city of Munich and all of the fun stuff. And you know our show we've had in the past. We love to talk about robots. I love to talk about robots. You know how many robots I saw at a BMW manufacturing plant?
The only question I have was, were any of them saying, danger, Will Robinson, danger?
I've never met a robot I didn't love.
Okay, all right.
And I met about 2 or 3 dozen at the BMW manufacturing plant.
Did they resemble Daisy from the Jetsons?
No, not yet, but we'll talk about somebody named Baxter that they're looking at.
Oh, I've heard of Baxter.
Yeah, cool.
So heard of Wilson too.
Yeah. So this plant, so in the middle of the Munich city center, has 9,000 employees. They only work 5 days a week. It's 18 hours. It's not a 24-hour shift because there's laws within the city around labor. So 18 hours a day, 5 days a week. Every single car that comes off of that assembly line has the ability to be customized. It's already pre-ordered and customized in advance. I think they told me there were 114 million different permutations of each car that could come off that assembly line. So you order a car, you spec it out with every little thing you want, and then they build it, and it comes off that assembly line. How many cars do you think in that way they can get to come off of an assembly line per day? Only 18 hours.
Okay, so an 18-hour assembly line, production line, is producing, I don't know, it's you said 18 hours?
And each car is different.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I wouldn't. Can you really produce a car every 20 minutes? I mean, think about that. I mean, I don't know. A daily number, I don't know, 20 times 8, is how many cars can you make in a day? I'm not sure.
So today...
You want me to give you a number?
I think the 20 times 8, 160 is a good start.
Okay, good.
They can do today, they're doing 1,000 vehicles per day off that assembly line.
Are you serious?
1,000. And they're moving it up to 1,500.
Per day?
Per day.
Okay. Let me do my math here. So per day...
per 18-hour shift.
Right, per 18-hour shift, there's 1,000 vehicles being built. Mm-hmm. So every, 18 seconds there's a car?
Well, no, it's... so if you take 18 hours... And,
18 hours. I was thinking a different way. Just straight numbers. Uh-huh.
Yep. I mean, we're talking a lot, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about 50-something cars per hour coming off that. Every minute, basically.
That's insane.
And so it's amazing because that includes paint, right? So I went into they gave us a tour of the factory, and if you ever get a chance, these are open to the public. You have to schedule it and make sure you do it in advance, but it's absolutely amazing. So we started from where they stamp the body parts until the paint gets dried in what they call the nursery, where they keep hundreds of BMWs in the nursery where the paint dries. And so they call it nursery because it's like their babies, right? And it's this big open area where they have a machine that stacks them into basically like parking spots.
Now, wouldn't a car be painted or the parts be painted prior to assembly?
No.
Really?
It's amazing.
I'm going to debate with you, but you were there, not me.
Right.
I'm like, you're going to paint this fender, you're going to paint this back panel before you assemble it, correct?
Nope.
All right, go on.
Nope. So the way it works, so first of all, you need something called a die.
Okay.
And they're not talking about the little things we play cards with, right? It's the die press that takes the sheet metal and stamps it. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the cost of dies for one car, so each car has about 200 dies, and I saw a machine take these things. This is about, 20 feet by 10 feet. It's huge. It's super hardened steel. And it's got two pieces, and it opens up, and they put the flat sheet metal in between. The thing clamps down with a strong force, and out comes like your fender, your side panel, all of the parts, the sheet metal parts of the car. The investment in dies for each vehicle model, $130 million. So when we talk about, hey, why can't they change that car look, or why are they using that same door for like all of their cars? Because the investment in those dies, they have to run, they have to put 1,000 cars a day for 10 to 20 years without breaking down. Those dies break, they're hosed. In fact, what they do is they build up a surplus of 2 to 3 weeks of body stamped parts just in case, so the whole assembly line doesn't crawl if something happens to those dies.
Wow.
Significant investment. Okay,
so the die is the key to, well, obviously the engine has a little role to play too, but again, I'm just blown away by the fact that the vehicles would actually be painted post.
So let's get to the dies, stamp out the materials. All the excess material gets put into a scrap pile, it gets recycled, and they use it again.
Understood.
So very little waste. So then those parts that are stamped go down the assembly line, and you start to see the shell or the
chassis,
exoskeleton, if you will, of the vehicle. So at that plant, they make series 3s, 4s, and 5s. So they got a little bit of variety there. And so what happens is you get those parts. A robot will hold it in place, and these robots out of nowhere, they're like velociraptors. They come in and they start welding, and you see sparks flying, and these things are moving so fast. Each robot is 2.7 tons. So right now, those robots are not very human sensitive. If you walk near it and it moves, it's going to knock you 20 feet back, right?
So those robots actually, too, they never take a coffee break?
They don't. There's no union for robots yet.
No cigarette break?
No. And they're made by companies like ABB. They're controlled by Bosch controllers. You've got like even the tow motors there. I've never seen this. 10 feet in front of the tow motor, it shines a blue light on the ground. So if a tow motor is coming behind you, you'll see that blue light first, just for safety, right? Pretty amazing stuff, how they think about it. So anyway, all that stuff gets welded together. It goes to the next section, all through robots. I mean, at this point, the frames are about 300 to 600 pounds with nothing else in it, just the shell, no hood, nothing like that. So they take that, and then they move it down the line. There's actually a human there who puts some certain parts into it.
What?
That's not worth automating.
A human?
Here's the most amazing thing of that trip. They said, look, you think robots are taking away human jobs? Actually, since we started this factory, for each robot, and this is in the past 50 years, for each robot they've added, they've created 3 human jobs because humans need to run those robots. They need to maintain them. The thing that the robots have allowed them to do is scale way beyond what humans can do.
You're just making this sound so good. I know there's got to be one problem out on that shop floor. Now, depend on your taste. Now, do the robots have a choice in what music's playing? Because, I've seen people fight at work. Some guys want to hear country, some guys want to hear rock and roll, when they're out there working. So do the robots fight about the radio station that they want to listen to during work?
See, it's people like you, Mike, with questions like that. That are going to give the robots ideas. Now stop it.
Okay.
They are happy.
They
are happy serving us.
But they want to do the robot, man. They got to have something to groove to. Go on.
My goodness. So anyway, they're grooving to the production.
Yes,
they're
sir.
amazing. So then these bodies get rotated upside down and welded and everything. So the whole body is put together. The side panels, the center panel, everything is put together. And then what happens is they're galvanized steel, right? So it's anti-corrosive already. It gets dipped in a zinc oxide bath, and it turns black. Okay, then it goes right into a primer, and it's primed. And then that dries quickly. And then what happens is it goes to the next stage, and it's moving. It's never stopping. You see these robots with air guns. And so each time, it could be a Series 3, 4, 5. It could be red, blue, black, whatever. They're doing matte paint at that place, which is a hot new thing. Matte means it's flat with no reflective properties.
Okay.
Amazingly durable.
Yeah.
They scan a QR code on the machine, and then the robots know what color to paint it, what type of paint, and they're spraying. So it's pretty cool because right in front of it, within 10 feet, is a black vehicle. This one is being painted red, and there's no overspray because they're using electromagnetic attraction. It's like powder coating on steroids.
I'm familiar with that, yep.
So very little gets wasted. Any particles that do fall on the ground, especially from the metallic paints, they have it's like a 10-foot wide river running. Like if you stood in that, you'd probably be carried away. It's that much force. It's coming down. Maybe it's not quite that strong, but it's coming down. It's a river of water that takes those paint particulate materials away. They take that paint and they make, I said nothing gets wasted. Do you know what they make out of that paint?
No clue.
Floor mats.
Aha.
So they use that to make floor mats, and then that water gets cleaned and recycled, and it goes over and over again.
So from a unique standpoint, when you were watching the production of a vehicle, obviously you could stand there long enough or follow one down the line and see it start from its birth to its conception.
Yes.
Or delivery. Did you see anything unique as far as color or as far as customization, which you mentioned earlier?
Oh, totally. I mean, what I thought would be very hard is whether you put a steering wheel on the left or right side.
Okay.
They don't care about that until the last. They're like, it's very easy to go left or right. It's amazing. There's also robots that are conveying, those ski lifts that you have?
Sure.
They have that going around the factory, and if you want to walk through, they have sensors so that they stop, and it's carrying parts to the people who need it. And it's going around, and so there's this whole ecosystem. Now, the Munich plant, small footprint, so things are up and down, very vertical, as opposed to a modern plant today that sprawls for what seems like acres, right?
Football field, sure.
Yeah, they also said, there's a little robot that opens the door on the BMWs, and then it gets sprayed. And so there's a spot inside each BMW door That's like a line. It's probably like 4 inches long and maybe half an inch wide. If it's a true BMW that was done on a BMW plant, take off the inner door panel, you see that little mark on the inside of the BMW doors. Pretty neat.
But there's no fake ones out there. So what do you mean if it's a true BMW?
I don't know. That's just what they said. I'm just passing along the data. But absolutely amazing. Here's the thing to remember, though.
Okay.
We're not talking about a car from birth to delivery within 1 hour. This process might take, a week, right, with the paint drying and the body part stamping. But when they've had that capacity, they're bringing 1,000 cars out per day. So that car might have started to be built several days ago.
Sure.
But it's being delivered, out of the factory that day. 850 trucks come in and go out of there a day, bringing parts dynamically depending on what they need. So you ship it to locations around Munich. It's waiting in warehouses that BMW owns. As soon as they need it, boom, the request is made and the parts come back. It's all dynamic because they don't have a lot of space. Mm-hmm. It's a model of efficiency and pretty amazing.
So you were obviously absolutely impressed. And obviously when they come to America, those vehicles are intact, ready to go, wall to wall. Or do we do any assembly or additions here in the U.S.?
Nope, everything's done there, 100% ready to go. They in fact have somebody whose job is to test drive the vehicles, give it some acceleration, come back. Now, you can't do any shift more than 3 hours. So if you do that, you can do it up to 3 hours, but then you have to do something else. So the teams, kind of everybody does everything.
Sure.
You get to volunteer each day what you want to do, what you want to work on.
Boy, I could get into the driving piece. That would be a lot of fun.
It does sound like
fun. That would be a lot of fun. So awesome. Well, listen, man, I'm glad you got to go over to Europe and spread the love and talk about Tech Talk 2020. I'm sure we have listeners now over the pond that are checking us out and listening to what's going on here. And we're glad that you're all out there listening to Tech Talk 2020 here on WINT 1330 AM. We are so glad to be here with you, and we appreciate you listening in. Look forward to hearing next week. We're going to head down some different roads next week. Different roads. Isn't that funny?
That's punny.
But again, thanks for listening here on Integrity Radio, WINT 1330 AM, and WINTradio.com.
Thanks, everybody.